I know a lot of people say this, but I don't believe in a plan B.
Yeah.
I've done that for the first half of my life, and it got me nowhere.
Yeah.
And once I told God, like, hey, big dog, this is it. If this doesn't happen, I don't know what's happening with me, but this is it. And I'm going to show you and myself this is it.
Right.
And since then, it's worked out. 10,000 hours. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
When Instagram is off, when Snapchat and TikTok and all of that is off, are you working?
Yeah.
Are you creating? Are you spending time just living life to feel the different things that you want to talk about in your art?
And welcome to another episode of the Bandit Room. My name is Charles. I'm joined here in the studio today by Mr. Caleb.
Hello again.
And across the table from me, we have Mr. Frankie Zombie. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Frankie, for the listener, Frankie's an artist. He's also the host of Artfully Designed, or a host of Artfully Designed.
Yeah, one of three.
Do you call it a host, or what do you refer to it as?
Co-host? Or,
Co-host. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Of Artfully Designed. Now that's through the Magnolia Network and also available on Max.
Yes, it is on Max now. The mainstream is Magnolia, Joanna Gaines Network. And it's Peacock, all kinds of other platforms now. I think it's on about maybe 12 platforms now.
Okay. Fantastic. So you're all over the place now. Frankie's worked on projects for, I'm going to lose my breath here going through the intro here. NASCAR, the NBA, the NFL, BMW. You go into celebrities, Dave Chappelle, Pharrell, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Machine Gun Kelly. The list goes on and on and on. I'm exhausted at it, Frankie. How did you do it? How did you do all these things?
Oh, well, first and most, I always forget how many things I've done.
Yeah.
But, man, it depends on how much time we have. Like visually, the art started. Well, no, mentally, it started being born and raised in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Hanging out outside, but like the thing was in our neighborhood, we had to be back in the house by a certain time.
Yeah.
And so I would just go back in my bedroom and just start daydreaming, looking out the windows. And so I'd take different shows and cartoons I would watch early in the day, morning and whatnot, and just go back and keep those in my mind mentally until it was time to daydream. I would do that often. I still do it a lot. And then I would just take those same shows and cartoons and just reconstruct them into like characters that were in my neighborhood or in my school. And, that's how I started mentally.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I've heard in other episodes or other things you've done, you've mentioned the Jetsons was a big influence on you.
Yeah, huge. If you actually, that particular piano there, there's a signature structured style that I do on predominantly pianos and a few murals too as well. That style started like direct influence the Jetsons. When you look at the monochromatic palettes that they would wear, light purples against the dark purples, and the robot is like dark gray, light gray, and then those angles, those sharp angles, all of that was from the Jetsons. But I realized as a child too, I didn't really see many people that looked like me in my neighborhoods in this particular cartoon. And I would ask my parents about it, and then, just brush you off a little bit. You're a kid just asking a million questions. And so I would, at that point again, go back in my room and start daydreaming if I saw more black and brown people that looked like me, but in a cartoon of the future. But as I grew older, I started to realize I don't actually have a passion for drawing characters. Yeah. And so I said, you know what? Instead of like learning how to draw the characters, I'm going to be the character of the future.
There you go.
And, just bring those vibrant colors to the world.
That's fantastic. I like that. Now, just looking at your artwork, I wouldn't have guessed Jetsons, but then once you say it, I start to see it, and I'm like, that is totally the same vibe as the color palette and things like that they would use in that show. That's fantastic. Going back into the bio, you talked about you were born in New York City, grew up in South Carolina. You've designed a NASCAR number 78 art car. How do you describe it? Is it an art car, you would say?
Yeah, I would call it an art car.
An art car. Okay. Fantastic.
Was that actually driven, or was it just like a...
It was driven during the Miami race,
cool.
which is like just crazy how it all circled back. I'll take a super long story short.
Sure.
So one of the first times I was introduced to art cars was doing Art Basel.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I'd done Art Basel in Miami was maybe about 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And when I saw somebody on the side of a street just painting a Lamborghini
Yeah.
and then hop in the Lamborghini and just drive off, it just blew my mind.
Only in Miami.
Right.
Only
You know, so I'm like, and he did it in the coolest way ever.
Yeah.
So that stuck in my mind for
Nice.
years. Fast forward, F1 had me come out and commission me to paint a G-Wagon on the beach, South Beach.
Wow.
And as I'm doing that, one of my friends that were assisting me on this project, he's like, hey, bro, there's a NASCAR simulation game, you know, a few down from you. Let's go check that out. And I go in there, and the guys that were a part of this simulation already knew who I was.
Okay.
And so we start small talking. He's like, yeah, we got to get you to, you know, design a car for us one day for NASCAR. And I'm like, oh, you know, small talk. Yeah, let's do it one day.
Sure.
Maybe about 2 weeks later, they called me and said, we have a team. This is what we want to do. We want you to have full control. When are you ready? I'm like, all right, let's do it.
That's fantastic.
That's so cool.
And so for my first art car, NASCAR car to be in Miami where I was first inspired, it was like everything for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, where I first came across your work was the work you did here in Rock Hill. You did a basketball court with Mr. Garrison Gist.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your first basketball court type job, or have you ever have you done that kind of work before?
I've done 3 basketball courts before that particular project. But when my brother Garrison reached out to me, it was a no-brainer to do it.
Cool.
South Carolina is his hometown, and South Carolina is my hometown as well, before Charlotte came into play.
Right.
And it was, you know, again, no-brainer. Like, he's a cool guy, super creative. When we first met, people thought me and him were twins. So, like, we had to become friends at that point. And, you know, just, when he reached out to do it, like, big canvases, most canvases that people are a little intimidated to do, that's where I feel at home, really.
Yeah. With a job like that, are you constantly like using a drone to kind of see like what's going on, like bird's eye view kind of thing, or how are you just kind of you just have a feel for it?
Yeah, you would think that's how you should do it, right? But me, when I did my first basketball court mural, I was extremely intimidated. Just thinking so much, my anxiety was getting to me. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna dive in and just have fun with this.
Right.
It's my art. It's my canvas. So I went in, no real measuring, no drones. I would just keep taking mental images of the entire court. Yeah. And then just paint it.
Okay.
I'd maybe get through like 60% of it done, and then one of my buddies would come out with a drone, not even to show me proportions, just to show me how cool it looks.
Just to show you what it looks like. Yeah.
And then at the first time he went up, I was like, okay, from now on, this is how I'm doing my basketball courts.
Nice.
You know, and it was more fun like that for me. You know, just dive in to have more fun instead of getting in your mind and getting anxious.
Overly analytical about it. Just feel it out a little more. That's cool.
Yeah. Now, we've talked a little bit about the different types of medium that you work with. What is it? What's your line? If it can take paint, you're going to put paint on it?
I'm painting it, baby. I'm painting it. Yes, sir.
So, I mean, the list goes on. What are some of the strangest surfaces that you've attacked?
It's always hard for me to answer that question because I started out painting non-traditional canvases. But I'd say recently, one of my good friends, Fernie in Charlotte, he's actually on a few episodes of our show too. He's a firefighter and an amazing wood artist, and he wanted me to design and paint a ladder. And at first I'm like, all right, cool, I'll do it for you, bro. But then as I'm in the studio about to start painting, I'm like, how exactly should I paint a ladder? Like, the proportions are super weird, you know.
You're talking a metal ladder? Or wood ladder?
One of like the old school, like 90s metal ladders, extends just a little bit. But he said he wanted to put it in the house as an art piece. Okay. I'm like, okay, well, let's do it. Like, this is how I started my career. So,
talking some strange surface area type work there.
Yeah, man. It's
don't have a lot of room to work with.
Right.
A narrow ladder.
Yeah. But again, I always just try to tap into what fun means to me. Yeah. You know, at this point, car parts that go under the hood that no one will see unless you're in a car show. Right. Inside of cars, furniture, almost anything at this point. Yeah. Like, honestly, man.
Some other work that I recognized that you were working on was you were part of the Black Lives Matter mural in Charlotte, and you organized the Black Lives Matter mural in Spartanburg. Is that right?
Yes.
Spartanburg, the city asked you to put that together? Or
yeah. So I think a day after we, I guess, gone viral with the Charlotte one, I'm on my way back home because I'd stayed the night in Charlotte, and the city of Spartanburg, my city, reaches out to me and says, "Hey, you know what I'm about to ask you, right?"
Yeah.
And like that's exactly how it went. I was like, "Yeah, just give me a day. My body hurts from mentally, emotionally, and especially emotionally dealing with why we were even there in the first place, painting these murals." And so, the next day I get with the city and we get together, a couple hundred people to,
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, to make it happen.
So for the one in Spartanburg, I haven't seen that one. I know in the one in Charlotte, for people who don't know, a different artist did different each letter, right? Or teams of artists did different letters.
Yeah.
So the one in Spartanburg, did you take the same model? Did you invite a bunch of artists, or did you kind of do a design for it? And
same thing. Different artists for each one. I didn't want it to just be artists from Spartanburg. I brought in people from Rock Hill as well. Charlotte. Further up north, I think I had one person that was from Jersey, and I just wanted so many different people to come together, not just black people, but to show that all colors of and races of people care about what was happening at the time and still going on,
Right.
And so it was just beautiful to see thousands of people in my city come together for something like that right in front of City Hall, and just spread. No matter how much weird threats and stuff I was receiving from nice people on Instagram and Facebook.
From nice people on Instagram. Very nice people on both sides.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
That moment for me was it was just a glimpse for me of what my ancestors really went through and like being in it. And so I started to realize after reading some of those messages and threats, like this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like I was built for this moment. So it's okay. No one's going to stop any of us from going out there to spread love and equality. So, we went out there and had a good time with it, man.
That's fantastic. Is it still holding up in Spartanburg?
Ours looks like the first day we painted it because I took some notes from the Charlotte mural and just
I haven't seen the Charlotte.
I think
one
that one's about 98.222% gone.
So did they not do some proper protective layers on it or something?
It's just Charlotte, the uptown Charlotte street is a lot more busy than Spartanburg's, back street in front of City Hall.
Yeah.
And two, I understood that we needed to put down like more sealant after the artists all finished their letters. And, again, we had more time and prep to make it happen with the Spartanburg one. The Charlotte one, you have so many people out there. You're out there 14 hours straight painting. Right. You want to get the letter done and take a breather and chill for a while. You don't want to focus on 2-3 layers of sealant and stuff like that.
That's true. Yeah, they probably couldn't shut Main Street or shut that road down for that long.
That was another one. I think now Spartanburg, I believe they shut it down for about a week.
Yeah,
and gave it its proper time.
That's good. We have a couple in Rock Hill. There's a Black Lives Matter on Caldwell Street, and then there's a No Room for Racism on another street. I can't remember where it is, but they both look a little bit faded.
Yeah.
They look a little bit faded. I'm not sure if they put down that sealant or whatever it was. But yeah.
Yeah, it probably needed a little more.
Roads are a tough surface for stuff like that. I mean,
it is.
It makes a powerful image, and it's fantastic if you can get it to hold up. But you either have to go back and hit it once a year or something to make it really last or something. I don't know.
And it was funny with the prep work with the Charlotte one because after we'd finished it the first day, that person went out and I guess they put the paint on their tire or something and drove through all the letters. Yeah. But it was a beautiful moment though, because it was almost like a conversation, because of whoever that was that did that, we had yet another day to come out and fellowship with hundreds of people and do the letter again. So that second day is when I started to actually connect with more Charlotte artists and people in the city. So
it's nice. One bad apple and caused the whole a stronger reaction of love and support to come out of that. That's good to see. Let's go back to your upbringing a little bit, and you talked a little bit about it. How did your upbringing in both New York and South Carolina influence your artistic style, and what kind of perspective do you think it gave you?
Great question. It definitely influences it even to this day. Yeah. I have another style that I do more so with cars. It's like the graffiti tones are more like my New York upbringing.
Sure.
But the abstract style of it is more so being raised in the South.
Gotcha.
Like New York is more aggressive, it's fast paced, but then my color palettes and how they start to gracefully merge is the South, where there's more patience here. More people you can walk by and nod or smile to.
True.
In New York, everyone's just
in their own world.
One track, in their own world. So that's where that began. The first piece of artwork I was attracted to was in New York City, abstract work.
Okay.
But then one of my teachers at the time and great friend now, Miss Eliezer, she was my first art instructor in South Carolina to really bring me into the art world and say, you know what, Frankie, I know right now in class we're focused on portraits, but I can see and feel there's something else creatively inside of you that let me put some more abstract tones in front of you and, see if this is your thing. And, that's where that grace starts to come from.
Fantastic.
In the style.
Okay. So you just say you were, obviously you were exposed to artwork in New York, but you feel like you really dove into it more when you were in your time in South Carolina?
Yeah, for sure. Here in the South is where I started to really dive into the Jetson style. Right. And I started to practice it a lot more when I moved to LA for a while, but it really became like home for me when I moved back from LA back to South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, so you've lived all these different places, New York, LA, South Carolina. What keeps you in the Carolinas? What is it that that keeps you here? Because you obviously, you would think it might have worked the opposite way. You grew up in South Carolina and then you went to New York or LA to do the art thing, but you did it backwards. So
a few things, honestly, man. I'm a bit of like a stubborn person. If someone tells me I cannot do something, I'm going to prove to you that it is possible. If I can't, someone else can do it. I just had so many people that would tell me there's not much art or successful artists coming out of the South and having a successful business with it. And I was like, well, that's not true, because when I first initially started my art business in South Carolina, in Spartanburg, everyone supported me. Everyone. My first art show, I believe I'd sold every piece but one, and I would have sold the last one, but I wanted to save it for a later time. And so I took it off the wall. But even that was like interesting, because I was afraid to do this art show because I didn't think anyone would accept me. I'm the black guy from New York. The rest of the room is, white, and this person does portraits and impressionism here and realism, and I'm the abstract, street guy. But everything sold. And since then, every city in the South that I've gone to, even Rock Hill, even Charlotte, some of my top clients and people that I, work with and organizations to do great work. And also what brought me back permanently in the beginning was my mom. So I was coming back from LA after a hard depression and just things with the music industry happening. And I came back for a couple weeks just to, get back to center and tap in with my family a little bit. And that's when I later found out my mom had stage 4 breast cancer. And so at that moment, I'm like, you know what? I've lived in every big city at this point. I don't need to be there. I'll just come back home, be closer to family. And then I started to realize even further at that point, I have the support I need here. I've lived in New York and didn't have much career success. I've lived in LA, didn't have much career success. Let's try out the South. And, worked out perfect, man.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, we go through a lot of that, too, because like as a software company that does tax products or things like that, you would think we're supposed to be in California. We should be out, Silicon Valley or something like that. But we're like, no, we can do it here. You can do it anywhere. You make a good product. It can compete on a national level. It's going to work wherever your base is. It doesn't really matter. As long as you're putting out good content. So that's fantastic. You hit on a bit about the music industry. Can you describe where that came into play?
So music,
or describe your journey to art
for sure
through wherever the stops you took along the way.
So with music, I'd always been musical my whole life. As far as just like my dad put me onto like Curtis Mayfield and the Isleys and all of that stuff, and then my mom with Madonna and all of the pop music and Sade and cousins with 90s like jazz, hip hop and stuff. But I thought I was going to be an athlete my whole life. I messed up my leg in high school. That happened. And then I moved to college in New York and tell my uncle at the time that I wanted to be a music producer. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, I'll take you in. We'll work it out. He was the vice president at the time of Young Money Records, Lil Wayne's record company. Okay. And so he was the first person to show me, look, I'll buy you this keyboard, that, just lock in and just start hustling, making music. So that would happen for years. After a while, I moved back to South Carolina from New York, still making beats and stuff. And long story short, I got my first music placement in the music industry with an amazing artist and songwriter by the name of Stacey Barth. She's produced and written for like Rihanna, like all kinds of people, Beyonce, list goes on. And so great friend of mine to this day, Eddie Blackman, he was like our big brother and like manager, you know, if you will, in the industry. And he's like, hey guys, we got this placement going. I can't do much for you in South Carolina. You might want to move to LA. And so within a couple days, I quit my job with maybe $800 to my name, my entire name and account. And me and 7 of my music buddies moved to a 1-bedroom apartment in LA. Okay. Yeah, 1 bedroom. Yeah. Made it happen like that. Producing there for a good while. A lot of big names. Again, that's when the industry started to hit me with a little of depression because like imagine waking up almost every other day and Motown and Universal and all of these big companies are promising you these big checks. Yeah. And you wake up every day and you're still eating a Subway sandwich once a day. Right. And so, you know, that part mentally was just breaking me in a way, my spirit. And I always realized even in LA, when I was having a bad day, art was always there as just something to do, just to get me away from the music. I never wanted to sell anything. I didn't really even want to show anybody. My friends would just tell me constantly, hey, you should do something with this. Yeah. And that turned into me moving down south and realizing I didn't want to do music for a while. Like I was really bitter of the music industry. Yeah. And I said, you know what? I love this art thing and I think this is my purpose. So let's see if I can turn this passion and purpose into a career. And, you know, again, that's when I started to realize like through music, I could make the music, but I didn't know how to help change people's lives or influence them through it. Yeah. But through art, I can paint and then take $10,000 and give it to Haiti. Right. I can take, you know, this amount of money and give it back to these children who are less fortunate for resources and laptops and stuff. Yeah. So it's like, okay, like this, God, thank you. Like, this is it. This is my purpose. And you know, that's how we got into the art.
Do you think part of it had to do with the fact that in a visual art field, you have so much more control over what you're putting out there and getting it out there, whereas in like the music industry, everything's kind of controlled by large producers. Yeah. So like you could be making good content, but without the backing of like some large giant, like you know, is it going to really get out there the way it should? Yeah.
Even with like down to getting paid as a producer, you still have to wait for an artist to purchase the music from you and say, hey, this music is going to make my album. Right. Until they say, yes, this is making the album, you're liable to be waiting 6 to 8 months. Yeah. And so that's with every artist. But with art, I can doodle something right now.
Make something anywhere. Yeah.
You know, with you guys and then post it on any social site. Yeah. A couple thousand people will see it, and at least 5 people are going to reach out. Yeah. You know, and that's, I just, you know, again, with that process and knowing that once it sells, I can then take those funds to help someone somehow. Yeah. It's just a no-brainer for me at that point.
That's fantastic. Now, you talk a little bit about some of the big names that you've worked with in the past. Can you share some memorable experiences that you've encountered through some of these exchanges?
Yeah, right off the top, Dave Chappelle.
Okay, so what did you? How did this come about?
Yeah, so there was a venue, I think in Boston, that reached out to me. Yeah, Boston, that reached out to me to do some shoes for them. Okay, and they wanted me to do like a regular pair of Nikes or something like that. And I was like, I study this man. I know what kind of shoes he likes, and so I took money out of the budget that wasn't even there fully to just get this specific shoe for him. Yeah. And I do the artwork, I send it to him, and I think like 2 days later I got I got a text from someone in his camp to my manager and myself saying, "Hey, Dave loved the shoes. He'd love to invite you out to the Charlotte show."
Oh, okay.
And we go to the Charlotte show. The show was amazing.
Yeah.
We go to the back and he's just sitting down, like I envisioned, just sitting down in the green room, and you have like 10 people around him just laughing at all the jokes and all this different stuff. But he really, you can tell he really cares when he's speaking to people. It's not just you're here to see me because I'm a celebrity. Yeah. And so one of the assistants go over and taps him and says, "Hey, that's Frankie Zombie."
Gotcha.
He stands up. He's not one of those "you walk to me" guys. He stood up. "Oh man, I appreciate the art you did for me." We shake hands and stuff. And then he starts naming things in the shoe that I designed. Oh, yeah. So he remembered it a week later, the detail. And we just kept conversing. And then I started asking him some questions about art and the TV industry and Netflix and HBO, all these different things. And he's just loading me with just gems of great things to keep going emotionally and mentally when it comes to the business, man. And he's telling his team, "Hey, look, give him my contact. Yeah. Let's keep in contact. If anything you need, let me know."
Wow. That's cool.
And that's just one of those moments because how sometimes you may have a music artist or just a celebrity in general, but you're curious of how they are in person.
Right. They say don't meet your heroes.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. That. And I have that a few times with other people. Yeah. And so with him, I was just a little "Oh man, I don't have any expectations, but I just hope he's a cool guy, man, because I love his work."
That's so cool. But so that was the show he did at Belk Theater just a few years ago, right? Or was it? I don't know.
This was recently.
It was recently?
Yeah, last year.
Oh, last year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. And then he'd done a show here in Charlotte a couple months ago.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow, fantastic.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I think for the special that just came out on Netflix, it was that recording was for that special.
Oh,
yeah.
Fantastic.
Nice. So you mentioned TV stuff, so this might be a good segue to entertainment industry on that side. So how did that happen with the Magnolia Network and Artfully Designed?
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, really, really random. Very. So there was a photographer, a great photographer that reached out to me and said, "Hey, I want to do photo shoots with different artists in Charlotte. And so just bring a little piece of artwork and you can pick the location and I'll just shoot you. And, we figure out what we do with the products later." And me being extra, I said, "You know what? Instead of doing a little canvas or something, I'm going to paint an entire piano." I painted that piano at my friend Blue's house. He's also on the show with me on an episode. Painted it overnight. I stayed up about 20 something hours.
Wow.
Hauled it on the U-Haul. I drove it. An hour of sleep, drove it to Charlotte, and we had found a lady's home to do the photo shoot in. And we get inside the home, Natalie, her name's Natalie, and I'm looking around the house. I'm like, "I'm digging this interior. Is this your work?"
Right.
She's like, "Yeah."
Okay.
And then she says, "This piano is amazing.
Yeah.
Did you do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so at that point, we just became fans of each other.
Yeah.
And I think maybe a month later, she reached out and said, Network had been pitching some ideas for shows. Would you like to, just do a sit down interview and see where it goes? So that happened. The interview happened. It went well.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened with our third co-host, Rachel. But I believe they knew each other before I met Natalie. Okay. Maybe a year before.
Yeah.
And so we all three do the interview. And I think no more than 2 months later, essentially the networks reached out and said, "We love it. Let's get the ball rolling."
That's fantastic.
From before that point, I never saw myself being on anyone's TV.
Right. Ever. That wasn't in the game plan?
Yeah. No, unless it was through sports. But, once sports was officially done, I'm like, there's no way.
Well, that's the next step. After athlete, after you're a performer, then you move on to commentating and things like that, right? Man, that's funny. So that all comes from you being extra, right?
Yeah, man.
If you hadn't made that, if you hadn't stayed up all, who knows? Who knows what would have happened? But if you hadn't stayed up all night, made that piano, got a U-Haul, taken it to Charlotte instead of, I don't know, some two-dimensional work or something like that.
And not that there's anything against two-dimensional works, right? But I just, I always preach to everyone, no matter what the age is, when it comes to art,
right,
you have to really like go that extra mile and step for things that you believe. Yeah. Even if it's a daydream, like it may take some extra time or extra 10,000 hours to make it happen. But anytime that I've jumped off that ledge and believed in myself, something came from it. Yeah. It may have not been right away, but something would happen. And so like those moments, like with the piano and Natalie, like those type of moments always remind me to never cut myself short.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, that's true. And I'm sure a lot of, these other situations that you found yourselves in, we could go, we spend all day talking about how each job came about, whether it's your NASCAR experience or, different, celebrity type people that you've worked with.
Yeah.
It didn't come from sitting around in your room doodling something, not getting it out there. It's hustling. It's getting your work out there, getting that exposure and doing the extra mile that you're talking about.
You have to, man, because when you're thinking about every other career goes the extra mile. If you're a doctor, lawyer, personality, like whatever it is, you have to study those long hours. You have to put in the physical work, long hours, college, all of this. So as a creative, why is it any different, for us,
True.
So.
And these things don't happen overnight. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, let's talk about how long you've been working in the art field.
Yikes. I've been painting for maybe about over 11 years.
11 years, yeah.
No, actually longer than that.
Yeah.
I'm very old now. So about 15. I've been painting for about 15 years.
Right.
And the last 5 years, things started to really, really like pick up and, get to where it is now.
That's fantastic. Yeah. But, looks like an overnight success, but if you don't think about it, there's a Steve Jobs line I like. It says, if you look closely at most overnight successes took a long time.
Oh, 100% of the time, man.
Yeah. They see you you get the TV gig. Oh, you got this NASCAR situation. Yeah. They didn't see the 15 years of just work, to get to that point. What advice would you give to aspiring artists who hope to make it in the world?
I would say to a certain degree, you have to block out what everyone else thinks about your work. I don't get caught up in the color theory and the exhibitionists and like all the art experts.
Yeah, sure.
To this day, I still don't know what an art expert is, but just block out all the noise.
Yeah,
you have to start with the things that you love. Own into that. Spend the 10,000 hours crafting whatever that feeling is for you. And once you can at that point like take criticism from people and still do your own thing regardless of what you've been told, that's when I think like you're onto something pretty strong and powerful. Yeah. I cared what people thought in the beginning. I saw where it got me. To this day, I don't care what people think. Like, I'm interested in how people feel, but if you're trying to just put all these different stipulations on my work or what I should and shouldn't do, that slides off me like lotion on the skin. It doesn't faze me at this point.
You got to make work that you like.
Yeah, man, you have to. Yeah. And jump off the ledge. Like, I know a lot of people say this, but I don't believe in a plan B.
Yeah.
I've done that for the first half of my life, and it got me nowhere.
Yeah.
And once I told God, like, hey, big dog, this is it. If this doesn't happen, I don't know what's happening with me, but this is it. And I'm going to show you and myself this is it.
Right.
And since then, it's worked out. 10,000 hours, I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
When Instagram is off, when Snapchat and TikTok and all of that is off, are you working?
Yeah.
Are you creating? Are you spending time just living life to feel the different things that you want to talk about in your art? Those things are important, man.
That's fantastic. Now, let's talk a little bit. You mentioned like color theory, art experts. Let's talk a little bit about training in the art world, because you strike me as someone who's self-taught or worked through experience. But you've also referenced you've had art teachers that kind of inspired you and sort of encouraged you in that regard. So what do you think worked out for you? Whether you think it's like a little bit of both, essentially, getting a little bit of that encouragement in your formative years, and then having the determination to make it happen as an adult? Or
I think for Miss Eliezer, She would kill me if I keep saying Miss Elliott. Susan. She's like, we're both adults now. Stop calling me that. What Susan has started is like, I loved her for it because it wasn't so much of her trying to give me a bunch of like technical things. It was, look, we're going to keep trying out different styles of work and mediums until you feel, key word for me is feel what you're into and what you love. And as long as that's the kind of encouragement, I was just all for it. If someone has a bit of knowledge for me in the art realm, I'm okay with receiving it. But if it's not me, it's not for me.
Right.
I get a little tied up with people that feel like if you're not studying all the greats of the last 100 years, and if you're not reading this book and that book on color, your art is terrible. If you don't have your work in 3 million galleries across from here to Italy, you're not an artist. And that's when I, put my foot down and say, no, that's not true.
Right.
Who
made you the decider of what's good?
Right. And I just try to stay away from those kind of people. But I'm all for encouragement if like I can just feel like you really just want what's best for the moment. Now, as far as like technique, I get it. As far as, portraits and things like that, you have to study techniques and style and shading and shadows. I get that. When it comes to abstract, I feel like it's a little different. It's more of a feeling. Like, I don't want you to walk past my artwork and think first. I want you to feel first. To this day, I still have friends that ask me, what do you think about this new piece? It weirds me out because it's like, I didn't think anything. I either felt it or I didn't feel it,
Gotcha.
So, I'm more drawn to people that challenge me when it comes to emotions, not so much the analytics and the logistics of it.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. It's fantastic. We've had a couple other artists on, and I think we had Kyle Mosher on last season, and he talked about that.
Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle, yeah. I think you know him, yeah, right? And he had some training as well, and we were kind of debating whether or not, what's more important, the actual, like the art training, art school type experience, or just doing the work, getting in there and doing it. And, it's hard to make that call, sometimes people, they go through it. They don't want to feel like they did it for nothing, so I'm sure, for to each their own, but,
yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's like,
there's no replacing real world experience, of course.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's like one of the top 2 artists I focused on growing up, even to this day. There was no training when Keith Haring was like going through the subways, tagging different things, painting on everything, non-traditional canvases.
What art textbook would have told him that was a good idea? And then that's what everybody loves. Everybody instantly recognizes his work. Yeah, that's a good point. What is something that you wish you had understood at an earlier age?
A few things. How credit works? No. Taxes.
My mind always goes financial too when I think of that question.
Yeah, it's so many things, but like I'm always drawn back to just expressing yourself, man. Like as a child, I was quiet and dealt with a few times, whether it was in North Carolina or South Carolina or in New York, like wanting to commit suicide as a child, from a child to a teen, and for different reasons, not wanting to live in certain places or living condition or constantly getting picked on and stuff like that. But it was all because I cared what people thought, instead of looking in the mirror and realizing who I am and realizing we're all created the same but different in a way. Like we all have something to bring to the world, all billions of us. So why should it matter so much to the point of like ending my own life, what you think?
Right.
And I just started, again, just building that confidence up to be who I was. And you go through high school and I start wearing all kinds of funky stuff, and you have people wanting to like crack jokes on you. Oh, you're tacky, you're this and that. But then a year later, they're all wearing the same thing that they made fun of you for the year before. So it's just confirmation again of
there
like,
you go.
Oh, like you didn't hate me. You just wanted to, explore some of the things that I was doing, or you wanted to express the way that I was expressing. And so I just say, man, like, having that self-love, that is important.
Finding that voice. Let's wrap this section real quick with a few questions, and we can take a quick break. What are you listening to right now?
What am I listening to? There's a group called Hiatus Coyote.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're from the UK.
Okay.
It's like funk, jazz, rock, like so many different things all in one.
Yeah.
And that's more of music I like to listen to when I'm working and trying to get the brain going.
Yeah. Do you like to listen to like a curated playlist, or do you prefer like surprise me with something like a radio kind of thing?
Funny enough, I think like because I talk through music, like I can express a lot easier through music sometimes instead of words. I like to be in control of almost every song I'm going to play while I'm creating. Yeah. But I don't know what song is coming next until like the very end of the song. Yeah. And then I'll pick the phone up and type the next song, almost like a DJ.
Oh, okay. So you're like a DJ for your when you're creating primarily?
Yeah. Okay. And so friends on social media would ask me, bro, I need the playlist. I need the playlist. I'm like, I don't have one. I just play stuff as I go. Yeah.
You got to record your sessions.
Yeah, man. And then when I have the time to make a playlist, I don't want to do it because I'm not in that same feeling I was when I was in the studio working.
Yeah.
So,
That makes sense. Cool. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
And then Pharrell, heavy. A lot. Like I listen to Pharrell Williams. Like I have all of their NERD, all of their tattoos of the album names all over me. Like they inspired me to start loving myself. As a child. Yeah,
fantastic. Awesome. And there was what work did you do with Pharrell? What was that?
I did some shoes for him my first year of Art Basel.
Okay.
That was even super funny. So, I didn't have much funds at that time.
Yeah.
I packed a bag and realized that I didn't have enough money for a check bag. Yeah. So I just took a duffel bag. Yeah. And I put his shoes in the bag and took out some of my clothes so that I could, still just have the duffel. I was like, you know what? I'll wear the same stuff as much as I have to.
Sure.
But I feel like I'm going to get these shoes to him.
Yeah.
And so first day goes by, I'm taking this bag everywhere to every event. And all of my friends are like, what's the bag for? And, I'm telling them. It gets to the point where all of my friends are now on my side. So every event we go to and a stranger says, what's the bag? Yeah. You have 5 people behind me saying, oh, he's going to give it to Pharrell. And so day number 2, I'm out with one of my good friends, Alexander. And we're on Instagram and, just talking about the events for the day. And he's like, your boy is here. Yeah. I'm like, Pharrell. He's at the one of the Miami conventions, art conventions. Yeah. So I was like, all right, check, please. We got to go. Have the bag with me. We get to the convention center and the security is telling me I can't take the bag in. I said, lady, you don't understand. I have to get these shoes in there to someone. Yeah. I have to. She's like, okay. Well, we went back and forth for like 3 minutes. She's like, okay, I'll let you take the shoes, but the bag has to stay. I said, you can burn the bag. I don't care. I have the shoes. I get inside and I see his wife. Yeah. I was like, oh, like my whole body got cold. Yeah. I said, oh, Alex, that's his wife. And then he said, I got one better for you. Pharrell is right there. I lost it. Yeah. So I walk up closer. And because I know how the music industry works and celebrities, I didn't walk directly to him. I walked to the 7-foot guy that was next to him, his bodyguard. Yeah. And, I'm talking to the bodyguard and he's like, hey, have these for Pharrell, yada, yada, yada. I turn over. I start talking to him. I give him the shoes and like, that was it for me, like cloud 1 million.
Fantastic.
And it wasn't so much like a starstruck moment. It was, I spoke this to an existence and it happened, and I, again, cool. Especially as an artist where you have so many people that tell you, struggling artists, it's hard to make it and all this good stuff. Like if you believe something to the point of like being psychotic, like it's going to happen.
It's you being extra again. Yeah.
You have
Fantastic.
To, man.
So how long ago was that? Was that earlier years or was that?
That was like 5 years.
5 years ago? Yeah.
About 4 or 5 years ago, that's when I first had done Art Basel.
Oh, that was your first Art Basel?
Yeah, that was my first one and that changed my whole life.
Yeah. Fantastic. Awesome. Are you going every year?
Yeah, now I can barely sleep when I'm there because I have so many events going on. That's the last recent one, I think me and my manager slept maybe about 40 minutes a day.
Nice.
I had so many car events to do. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That sounds like fun. What are you reading right now? Or what have you read recently?
Right now, and I've read it like 4 times already, Rick Rubin's book.
Oh, yeah.
But I can never remember the title of it.
Creative Act?
Yes. Yeah. Or is it that? Something like that. Yeah.
I think
that might be
recently, the Creative Act. I'm not sure if there's...
That might be it.
Okay.
Yeah. The gray book with the circle on the front.
Yeah,
that one. Yeah. Like that book is like beautiful.
Rick Rubin's fantastic.
Yeah, man. Like his approach to life, music, art, and just the spirit.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm on read number 5 now with it, and I find something new every time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. And what are you watching right now besides Artfully Designed?
I lived Artfully Designed for the last 12 months.
Sure, you just go home and just watch that all the time.
Right. Last night I actually watched one of my favorite movies, Great Gatsby, the new one with Leonardo DiCaprio. That's my movie, man.
That's a good one.
Growing up, the show Martin Lawrence, that was my jam, bro. Yeah. That was it. Like growing up, I've watched it so much to the point now where if you quiz me on like what episode is what, I can tell you what the episode is just based on the clothes they have on.
Oh, wow.
I don't even have to hear the audio.
Wow.
Just the shirt.
Look at it.
You know all the lines and things like that.
Yep, that is it.
That's fun. Awesome. Fantastic. Well, we'll with that, we'll take a quick break and pick back up with a little game for Frankie Zombie.
Did you forget that your business needed to renew its TCC before August? This process takes 45 days, which may cause you to miss these upcoming deadlines. When you e-file using Tax Bandits, you don't need a TCC code. Just import your form data, generate and review forms, and then Tax Bandits transmits them for you via the Fire system. Don't miss your deadline. Just go to taxbandits.com and file your forms today.
And we're back for the second half of the Bandit Room with Mr. Frankie Zombie. We've got a glass of Chicken Cock Kentucky Bourbon Whiskey. Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers. Cheers, Caleb, but it's in spirit.
Clink.
Clink. Now, we're going to do a little game here with Frankie. We was just describing before. This is a new game. We haven't done this before on the podcast. This is called Subjective Objections. So, talking about art in the art world and what's good, what's not. We're gonna make you the arbiter of what's good and what's not. So you were just describing how much you hate those people. So we're gonna make you decide what's good and what's not. So we've put together a few pairings of different art by different artists throughout time, throughout history, and we'll have Caleb and I will compete against each other. And we will make Frankie decide what's better.
What's better, and we have to guess which one he think will be better.
Yeah. But that's the beauty of it, is it's totally subjective.
I'm going to change it to what I feel more. Instead of what's better.
What's better?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. In proper Frankie style then. Okay. So this is subjective objections, whatever Frankie feels. All right. So, all right. Are we good? All right. The first pair of art we have here is we have one by Paul Klee and another by Kandinsky. These are both very colorful. I know you should preference this is a horrible thing for an audio podcast. So we will be throwing the clip up on YouTube. So if you're on the audio podcast, it's driving you crazy, throw it up on YouTube. Or maybe Frankie will post something about it.
I got you.
All right. So 2 pieces. Paul Klee, Kandinsky. What do you think is better, Caleb?
What's better? I mean, I like the Kandinsky more personally.
Interesting. I prefer the Klee.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't matter what we think. What does Frankie feel? What does Frankie feel?
I'm going to go with Kandinsky.
Oh, point for Caleb.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's real complex.
Describe that. You like the energy of it.
Yeah, each section, each square has its own separate world happening. But when you zoom out and look at it as one piece, it all still, is very much so complementing the next. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
And it reminds me of trees.
Okay. Yeah. The tree rings. I get that. Okay. Fantastic.
I like it.
All right. We'll move on to the next. So today we have Jasper Johns and Andy Warhol. Jasper Johns. This is sort of pop art edition of Subjective Objections. But more importantly, what does Frankie feel? Caleb. Do you have a preference?
I just don't really like Jasper Johns.
Man, you are answering all of them.
He's all right, but I got to go with Warhol.
I'm going with Jasper Johns. He's one of my favorite artists. Also a South Carolina artist, Frankie.
Yeah.
He said, just so you know.
Frankie, also from South Carolina.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
Man.
But what does Frankie feel?
Right off of first look.
We were talking about one of Jasper's Target pieces and an Andy Warhol soup can.
I'll have to go with Andy. I'll have to go with Andy.
Killing me over here, Caleb.
I'm just picking my favorite and it's working out. So.
Same for me. All right. Yeah. Fair enough. Andy.
Yeah, I'm really a fan of pop art. And like,
Same.
Yeah.
A lot of the controversy he, had gone through in his career.
Oh, sure.
Through the late 80s as well. As far as like, he's just copying other people's stuff. And
right. Yeah, the art world hated him at the time.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
How do they feel now?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
I know how that goes.
What's next? Ooh. All right.
Why would y'all do this?
Going head to head. Basquiat versus Keith Haring.
Oh, man.
Well, okay. So if it helps or makes it easier for Frankie to feel the right answer, you can not judge the people, but we're talking about the individual works of art
very
here.
Much so.
This piece,
So, Caleb,
I have to pick
do you have a preference?
I think I got mine.
What do you like?
These particular pieces, I might go with Haring on this one.
What you got?
I don't know, man. I'm gonna go with Basquiat on this one.
Oh, okay. All right. So, although I have one of these gentlemen tattooed on me,
Which one do you? Where do you got? Oh, Basquiat,
right there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go with Keith on this one.
Keith.
Yeah.
I'm going with Keith because like it makes me feel like I don't know, what the story behind him doing this piece was, but it reminds me of everyone sticking together to make something happen, right? And in the art world, sometimes you have groups of people that make you feel like that can only be one person.
Yeah.
And we all have different mediums. We all have a different thing to say, thing to express.
Yeah.
Why can we not all uplift each other? Okay. No, I don't want to tell you about this opportunity because you might take all the money and all this other stuff. But this piece reminds me of just everybody being colorfully beautiful and like getting along and helping each other get to the top. Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
Another one for Caleb. Beautiful story. All right. This is Street Art Edition, Subjective Objections. We have Invader versus Banksy. Street artist Invader versus Banksy. With Invader, we've got a Pac-Man type tile work, and Banksy is a stencil boy with a hammer.
Just based on what I can see, I'm going Banksy. I like the context of that one.
I'm picking Invader.
I am going with Invader on this one.
Dude, yes.
Got him on the board.
On the board.
He's on the board.
Is that this particular piece is just jumping out at you more because the colors?
And the colors too. And I'm really just a fan of Pac-Man and like old school arcade and 90s, man. Yeah.
Definitely.
Both artists fantastic, of course.
Yeah.
I have nothing against Banksy, but
Banksy, like the one piece that was a part of the auction and after it sold, it shredded.
Ripped.
Oh my God.
Brilliant.
So cool.
Brilliant.
All right.
What do we got? Okay, this is violent Renaissance work.
My friend Blue would die to be a part of this moment.
We have two versions of the same work, Judith Beheading Holofernes, one by Artemisia Gentileschi and another by Caravaggio.
Caravaggio's classic lighting, like everybody.
Yeah, they both got the chiaroscuro thing going on, but different. I mean, the layout is very similar. I guess the slightly different fine tuning of the features on one.
I almost feel more on the Gentileschi.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna pick that one.
I'm picking it too. I think we can do that. But Frankie may give us no points whatsoever.
Yeah, this one might be a draw between you guys. I think I'm gonna go Caravaggio.
You're going Caravaggio. All right, all right. What's speaking to you?
It's a
what
bit
does it makes you feel?
Softer.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know the complete history behind this piece, but in the Caravaggio piece, the woman seems a bit like indecisive.
That's true.
As if though the person next to her is like the real person calling the moment, the action.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yes, it's just a bit. Although of course, what's happening is very gruesome. It's still some sort of like
very old, violent biblical story. The Israelites were captive by some I can't remember, but this is Holofernes is the character there, and he's sort of the leader of the army that's got the Israelites. And Judith goes into his tent, gets him drunk, makes him pass out, and cuts his head off.
Oh, that is right. That is right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. Yeah. Caravaggio has some grace to it.
Caravaggio does. That is the biggest difference, though, is Judith's face on those, because she's almost kind of determined on the one, and then, like you said, indecisive or solemn on the
other. It's like, no, let's do this.
Yeah. Makes sense. Fantastic. All right, so no points for us on this one.
That's right.
Fair enough.
Oh, man.
All right, today we've got the NFT version of Subjective Objections. We have Beeple on one side and Rafiq Enadal on the other side.
Is the Enadal one the one that was at MoMA?
Yeah, I think that's the one in the
Met.
Yeah, the MoMA. Yeah. What do you like, Caleb?
What do I like? I don't know.
I like both of them, just to be honest. But they're very different types of things.
I don't really like NFTs, but I'm trying to pick this piece. Like, look at these on their own here.
Yeah, just look at them on their own as digital artwork.
Probably got to go with Beeple.
You go Beeple?
Yeah, I'm going Beeple on this one.
I'm going Rafiq. But more importantly, what does Frankie think?
What does Frankie think? I'm going with Rafiq on this one.
Yeah.
All right. Rafiq. Yeah. I like that.
Like an adrenaline rush for me.
It's fantastic. These are, it's like a generative artwork. It's somehow, I don't know the full details on it, but it's like, it's constantly generating new formations and things like that. So it's not just like a static, like a screensaver. Like people criticize it, like they say it's a screensaver or something like that. But it's actually making new formations and things like that based on.
Yeah, it's like when I do abstract styles with my Jetson themed work. Like you'll have some people that say from afar, "Oh, it's all the same," and then when I invite them into the style and you see how much it's constantly changing, and like, "Oh wow, I apologize, I didn't know that." So it's the same with this piece. Like you think it's just constantly the same thing, and it's not.
That's true. Okay, we've got Architecture Edition. Ooh. On one side we have Antoni Gaudi, and on the other side we have Frank Gehry.
Interesting.
Gaudi's is one of those Barcelona houses he's famous for.
Yeah, it is.
Gehry's is
that is tough.
I think it's called the Dancing House. This one's in Prague. I've actually seen both of these in person.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm jealous.
Cool. Yeah.
What?
I'm just picking all my favorite things.
You just flexing on us all the places he's been.
Caleb.
Yeah.
What do you like, Caleb?
I think I like Gaudi better.
I like Gaudi too. But it doesn't matter what we think. It only matters what Frankie feels.
That is funny. That is hilarious, bro. These are
obviously both
absolutely
great.
Beautiful,
they're fantastic.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Only because I like to go super left field sometime. I gotta go Frank.
From Frank.
I gotta go Frank.
No disrespect. Frank's fantastic.
Man. That was a rough one.
That's a wild one though. The proportions on it are crazy.
Yeah, man.
Subjective Objections, Japanese edition. Today we have Yayoi Kusama and Takashi Murakami. Both still living artists. Both very bright in their own ways. Kusama's is a bit of I think it's fishnets. I think she described it as fishnets. And Murakami's one of his notable flower paintings.
I'm going to go Kusama because it's a little more calming to me. I'm kind of liking that right now.
I like it too. I'm going with that.
It doesn't matter what we think.
It doesn't matter what we think. What does Frankie feel?
I'm going to go with Murakami on this one.
Murakami?
Yeah. In high school, for me, like when I started to tap into his work, it just made me feel good about being different and vibrant,
Well, he did the Kanye album too.
Yeah. Graduation album. That was my 12th grade year.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Subjective Objections. This is sort of like big museum pieces edition. On one side we have Elena Tusi, and on the other side we have Anish Kapoor. The Elena Tusi is it's like a tapestry made of found metal objects, and the Anish Kapoor is a giant reflective surface. Kind of looks like a chrome satellite dish reflecting the clouds.
Ooh, Charles, you pick first.
All right.
Switch it up.
I personally prefer Elena Tusi. I would.
I might go Kapoor.
I'm just feeling different.
Yeah.
You just wanna, we agree too much, Caleb. We need to argue. All right.
Oh man.
Doesn't matter what we think.
Why
Mr.
not?
Frankie. Mr. Frankie. What are you feeling?
I'm going Kapoor.
Going Kapoor.
Yeah. Going Kapoor.
Boom, boom. We are tied up, Caleb. Coming up.
Excuse me, I picked Kapoor.
Wait, you pick Kapoor?
No. Yeah.
Oh.
Tuesday.
He tried
to make sure I get my points.
He tried to showcase him.
Okay. I thought for sure you were going to go N2C, Frank.
I was, but I felt like I was going so much like vibrant moments.
Yeah.
With the Kapoor piece, I just imagined me having something like that in like my backyard.
Yeah. For that, it's like, what would you rather have in your backyard, basically?
Yeah. 100%.
Installation, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, no disrespect. That's a good piece.
Yeah.
All right.
Ooh.
Subjective objections.
Yikes.
We're talking non-representation edition with Jackson Pollock on the left and Lee Krasner, his wife, on the right.
I wonder if that was... They might have had that Pollock at the MoMA when I was there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
No, they all look the same. So.
They do.
No disrespect to anybody. I love Pollock as well.
Difference.
Always excited to see one whenever I see
Yes.
it, but it's kind of hard to tell them apart sometimes.
I don't know. I like the shapes in the Krasner. I think it's kind of more dynamic. Yeah. Going Krasner.
Going Krasner? I'm going to go Pollock, even though they look the same. Just to be disagreeable. Because this is not fun if we agree.
It's true. I'm going to go Pollock.
Pollock? Boom.
Pollock.
And these
I feel
particular
a bit
pieces, you feel like the energy of it is stronger?
Yeah, and
Or what do you
I feel a bit of like I'm finding my way through the frustration.
Oh, yeah.
In my own life, like when I look at this piece.
Yeah.
And also, I know to a part of his career, some people started to look at it as like you're just scribbling and pouring some stuff on a canvas. And then, unfortunately, when he passes, he becomes this iconic thing.
Yeah.
And that tends to happen a lot in the art world, unfortunately.
For sure. People appreciate you later.
Yeah.
All right. I think this is the final piece. Cubist edition.
Yikes.
Subjective objections. Picasso versus Brock.
On these I usually like Brock's Cubist stuff more than Picasso. I mean, they're close, but in this case, I might go Picasso.
I prefer Brock.
Why do you prefer Brock?
This one, it gets complicated for me because it's kind of one of those like, there's certain things about Picasso I don't like as a person, and that kind of bleeds into how you treat the artwork, which is, I try not to have that happen because, you can be able to judge the artwork on its own. But if I just look at the artwork, I think I do prefer the Brock on this one, even, taking names out of the equation.
I got you.
But I like, the color of it, the subtlety of the movement between the pieces.
But that doesn't matter, Charles.
Again, it doesn't matter because what the heck we say. The arbiter of what's good across the table from us. Mr. Zombie.
Oh, man, I love Cubism. I'm going to go Brock.
Going Brock?
Yeah.
Boom,
Brock on that one. Going Brock on that one.
All right. So it looks like Caleb and I tied. And this is the final piece. So to be continued, I guess. Do this another time with somebody else. All right. Fantastic. Well, that was fun. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for dealing with this and putting up with this nonsense.
Oh, no. That was fun, man. That was
fantastic. Awesome. Well, appreciate you coming by. I'm sorry you had a little car trouble on the way, but I hope everything works out.
Yeah.
Shout out to roadside assistance.
Yes, very much so.
Is there anything you want to
any final
plug
thoughts?
or bring
projects
up?
coming up?
Yeah,
projects coming up.
No, this Saturday we have a new episode of Artfully Designed coming out on.
Fantastic.
I believe we have a 1:30 slot now on television.
Nice.
And it's on Max.
Yeah.
YouTube, HBO, Amazon, whatever you have out there. But yeah, besides that, just want to encourage everyone to live life like you're taking care of a plant, man. Start with the root. Start with the root. Just forget the outside for a minute and start with the root. We're all dealing with different things in America and outside of America. Just natural disasters. Just so many other countries going through a lot of things emotionally, from the children to the adults. And if we just do our part by taking care of the root, that helps the masses essentially. So
fantastic.
Appreciate you guys, man.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much for coming out. Thanks for joining this episode of the Bandit Room. Stick around next week and see what we talk about.
The
Bandit Room is a production of Span Enterprises, located in sunny Rock Hill, South Carolina. We've been developing, supporting, and growing successful IRS e-filing and business management solutions since 2010. Go to spanenterprises.com now to learn more. The views and opinions expressed in the Bandit Room are those of the guests, and do not necessarily reflect or state the opinions of Span Enterprises. No information should be considered as tax, legal, or other professional advice.